This episode of The Benefit Whisperer is brought to you by Route 3 Insurance and Financial Services, where smarter benefits begin. If you're tired of rising healthcare costs and opaque insurance contracts, Route 3 is here to help you take control. They specialize in transparent, employer-driven benefit strategies that protect your people and your bottom line. Ready to break away from the status quo? Visit www.fixmybenefitsnow.com and discover how Route 3 can help you build a plan that actually works for your team and for your budget. A different variety of sizes of companies and different industries and so on and so forth. And, we have a lot of success stories and we do it through working really, really hard. In the first year, we reduced their cost by about 20%, saving them about $1.3 million. Second year, reduced it by 27%, saving $2.1 million. And the third year, 31%, saving them another $2.5 million. Well, things like that. Now, also, it's very, very important. What we do, and last segment, we talked about MediPay, paying in advance, paying at the time of service, paying cash, paying the whole bill.
Group benefits are more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're a powerful tool for attracting top talent, protecting your team, and securing your business's future. But too often, they're sold as a commodity, leaving untapped potential on the table. On this podcast, Ralph Weber will share insider insights, strategies, and secrets to help you optimize your benefits, cut healthcare costs, and design plans tailored to fit your business and your people. By the end, you'll have actionable tools to create smarter solutions for your employees and your company. Let's dive in.
And welcome to the Benefit Whisperer, the podcast hosted by Ralph Weber. Ralph, it's great to be with you. I'm excited for today's episode because you've talked a lot over the course of this podcast about how much you've saved companies and you've touched on a company here and there. Mm-hmm. But today, as I understand it, you're going to share some specific examples to give people an idea of what you do and how you can save them money and maybe even improve the coverage of their employees, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Bill, I'm happy to be here again today. It's great to see you again, as always. And and we work with a different variety of sizes of companies and different industries and so on and so forth. And, we have a lot of success stories and we do it through working really, really hard. One that comes to mind, it's a nonprofit with, about 600 employees. Roughly 400 of them are, on the actual plan. So in the first year, we reduced their cost by about 20%, saving them about $1.3 million. Second year, reduced it by 27%, saving $2.1 million. And the third year, 31%, saving them another $2.5 million. So 3 years in a row.
Okay, that's really impressive, but forgive me because I'm going to be a skeptic here for a second because it sounds almost too good to be true. So I've got to ask you, how, because those are significant savings. That's not an insignificant amount of money.
No, not at all. The plan that they were on was all wrong for them. Okay, and it didn't make sense. First of all, they had a fully insured plan for a segment of their population, which just didn't make sense. There's not a lot of transparency or visibility. Mm-hmm. So we actually created a 4-tier plan for them, whereas before they had one size fits all. And that way we were able to offer different, people different plans.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and part of it is, there's a lot to it. So number one, 2 of their plans were reference-based pricing. And I've talked about that before. That's where the plan pays whatever Medicare pays plus an additional margin, such as 150% of the Medicare rate, et cetera. So that was part of it. Part of it was by managing the enrollment. And I'll give you an example. Normally, when an employee turns 65 and becomes eligible for Medicare, and they have a spouse that is, let's say, 5 years younger, okay, to keep coverage for their spouse, they stay on the plan.
I got you.
Okay. So that's the normal case of events. So we got really creative with that and made it so that the spouse could participate and the employee, if they chose to, could enroll in Medicare. Sometimes they did.
So if I worked for that company, just so that I want to make sure I understand this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it was me working for the company. I turned 65.
Right.
I could enroll and activate my Medicare. My wife is 56, and she's like, no, what are you doing with my health insurance?
Yeah.
You're saying that you came up with a way so that as long as I'm with this company, she can participate without me participating in the plan?
Right.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. And of course, nobody has to sign up for Medicare. I mean, Part A is automatic when you turn 65 and it's free. You know, you've paid for it your whole life.
Yeah.
Some people like it better and some don't, you know, so there's always the option, but you know, those that choose to, you know, some of them find that it's a really good option while others don't. Right. So, you know, it's all about choice. So, you know, that was one of the ways. Advocacy also, we did a great deal of advocacy. So sometimes there are programs that can help, you know, the person. One bill, for example, we had it reduced from 24,000 just to 4,000.
Wow.
We had some weight loss drugs that generally cost about $1,000 a month. We had that reduced to a $10 per month copay.
Wow.
Okay. So things like that. Now, also, it's very, very important what we do. And last segment, we talked about MediPay, paying in advance, paying at the time of service, paying cash, paying the whole bill.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a huge difference. So that's you know, how we save. That's, you know, most of the strategy of that company. But we've got others. We've got a bunch. I'm going to just go through.
I was going to ask. I mean, this is nice. We've got one nonprofit company that you saved a lot of money for. Is there anybody else you can talk about, Ralph?
Yep. A whole bunch. Let me see. Let's talk about. I've pulled about 8 or 9 together. Just you know, kind of in the course of the last 10 years or so. So, manufacturing company on the West Coast with 200 employees. The first year, we reduced their cost from $2.1 million to $1.5 million, saving them about $600,000. Okay, and today, you know, they're still a client, and they're paying less than that. You know, so they are sustainable cost reductions.
Wow.
You know, and a lot of it is just by, you know, I mean, we spoke about my air traffic control background, being able to visualize all the moving parts and finding the best and safest way, you know, to help them coordinate and navigate and everything. So, you know, we did, again, a lot of negotiations. Second opinions are sometimes very important. Okay. Mayo Clinic, for example, you can look it up. They did a study and their results indicated that 88% of the time when a second opinion is done, the original course of treatment and or diagnosis is either changed, altered, modified, etc. That doesn't mean 88% of the time they're wrong. That just means that, you know, maybe they're finding something more effective.
Yes.
Right. So second opinions save a ton of money. Negotiating cash prices, paying in advance. Sometimes drug rebates and subsidies are available too that people don't know about. For example, they had one you know, cancer drug that could cost potentially up to $3.6 million a year. Got it down to about $900,000. So, you know, significant reduction there.
I mean, look,
actually, I'm sorry.
I think that's great. I think that's great, but I just got to tell you, there's no wonder people are so cynical about drug costs and drug prices when you can, you know, you produce that kind of savings. That's astounding to me.
Actually, we reduced it to 100,000. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. Yep. Just under $100,000 from 3.6.
I do have to tell you, I mean, you know, it's a common joke among a lot of people that you know, life's hard, but comedy's really hard. Healthcare coverage without any levity and any joke, is some of the most intensely complicated things that I have looked at over the course of my life. And they are very, very difficult. You are highlighting right now reasons that people should be paying attention to you and maybe even ought to be coming in and sitting down and saying, hey, I heard that podcast.
Yeah. Well, going back to the, this staying with this company, that we changed from 2.1 to 1.6. In 2017, there was one person on a generic version of metformin that cost $5,410.64 per month. Okay. That same drug on GoodRx was $750 per month. And in Canada, it was at $1.80 per month.
Oh.
So using Canadian drugs, sometimes Mark Cuban drugs can save a ton of money, as well. So there's so much that can be done. And, the standard, sell it and forget it. That's not what we do here. We get really deep and intimate, with the clients. We find out their goals and assess what they're doing and then, suggest different strategies.
Yeah. And I know some of the people who've been listening to this podcast for a while understand that there's a big difference between self-insured and fully insured. That is not just cost, but it has to do with the visibility in terms of what you can see, in terms of what you pay and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
But, you've got two companies here that you mentioned so far. You produce significant cost savings for. Are there other companies? And I'm kind of curious about how people react, Ralph, when you come back to them and say, I just reviewed everything and take a look at this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes they're astounded. One company that I just spoke to, a couple of weeks ago, they were paying almost $1 million a year. And for one hernia repair, they paid $131,000. Now, a hernia repair, the average insurance cost should be about 27 grand. If you pay cash, you can get it for under 10 grand. So that company stands to save, I think we can probably drop their cost from $1 million to, I don't know, anywhere between $650,000 and $750,000.
Wow.
So, and part of that is because of, what you just mentioned, being self-insured versus fully insured. And the other part of it is, just making sure that they're not going to these very, very expensive points of care. And we monitor them. We monitor, the charges that are paid to each and every, for each and every claim. And we look at it very, very closely.
I am not a business owner. All right. And I'm not going to even pretend to be a healthcare expert either. So I think a lot of people are surprised when they hear you talk about the things that you're talking about, because I this is not a joke. Every episode that we work on together is always a revelation to me in terms of stuff I didn't know and facts that you present, which absolutely astound me.
Yeah. Well, and Bill, the thing is, there are a lot of special interest groups involved in healthcare, the big pharmaceutical companies, the big insurance companies, and a lot of them want to keep it really complicated and really opaque, but when you peel off the layers of the onion and you really look inside and analyze it and say, why is it assembled in this way? Well, it is easy peasy. Go to the doctor, show your card, they get it, boom. But sometimes, often, there is a better way to do it that could result in really big savings. Another example, small community hospital in the Midwest, they had about 127 employees or so. Okay. They were paying $1.6 million a year for their health care. We dropped them down to $1 million. Okay, saving
Okay,
them.
that's a hospital company. Did I get that right?
Yep. So, and this was interesting because what they were doing, okay, is they were on a fully insured plan. Okay. And they had the same copays, deductible, coinsurance, et cetera, no matter where they went for care. So what we did is we developed a 3-tier plan. Okay. If you go in network, it's this. If you go out of network, it's this. Okay. Everybody knows how that works, but we added a tier above that. If you have something that we can treat in our hospital, you don't have to come here. But if you do, we're not going to charge you any facility fees at all, just the doctor's fees. Okay. So, paying potentially and only a copay for the doctor's fees. So instead of paying potentially, and the thing is, Bill, on their old plan, the fully insured plan, they were actually enriching the bottom line of their competitor hospital down the road. Okay. They were paying,
that's cruel.
They were paying their money, the employer's money, to enrich the other, like their competitors' EBITDA.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy, right? So it is. They're called domestic claims. Okay, that happen. Now, some hospitals are specialty hospitals. Pediatric, cancer, orthopedic, et cetera. So they can't do everything. Yeah. This particular one was a general hospital, but it can be done anywhere. So that alone saves a ton of money. Another one, a large health system on the East Coast, I think they had about, 17,000, 18,000 employees, had a drug plan. And we looked at their drug plan. They were paying, right about, $70, $75 million a year just for their drug plan. And we were able to show them strategies to drop that by about $30 million a year. And furthermore, increase their revenue. And again, part of that strategy is using their own internal pharmacy. So there are many strategies that can be applied. And part of it is using a pass-through pharmacy benefits manager. So there are so many tools in the toolkit, Bill, that we study, and we have a lot of people doing the research for us, and we develop these ways, these creative ways of saving money.
Well, what's fascinating to me about today's episode is you talked about a small manufacturing company. You talked about a medium-sized nonprofit company, and then you talked about 2 healthcare companies.
Yeah.
2. One of them a hospital. And you would think that if the cost savings were evident to anyone, it would be those in the healthcare field.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So, what is the issue from where you sit in terms of looking at this? Is it that people are not just curious enough, or are they just stuck in a we've always bought stuff from Ralph, we're always going to buy stuff from Ralph, we don't need to worry about it because Ralph's a great guy? I mean, is it just like sometimes it's just stuck in an old way?
That is often the case, Bill. So, for example, they are very accustomed to having large companies work for them, like as their consultant, as their insurance company. Gotcha. And then they just say, hey, listen, nobody's ever been fired for, using this insurance company, for a client. Yeah. Instead of digging deeper. So, again, it's the one person that years ago, we arranged for a gallbladder procedure, removal of a gallbladder.
I'd like to renew my gallbladder.
Cholecystectomy, as it's called. And I don't remember the cost savings, but they were significant. They were very, very significant. And they earned a cash reward by using our provider. And they, on their testimonial, they said something that's always stuck with me. They said, we were clinging onto a familiar broken system. Okay. So sometimes that's the case.
Well, change is hard. I mean, change is hard. And we do resist change even though we might even suspect or outright see that the change is going to result in a net benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people just want to hit the easy button. Okay.
Yeah,
and
of course,
and that's fine. And if they're not concerned about their spending, then that's fine. There are a lot of really good programs out there. But, as we've spoken about, more and more, the CFO, the CEO, the CHRO are being held to account on their fiduciary duties. Okay. Their job is to, we talked about Starbucks spending more on healthcare than coffee beans. So these CFOs, their responsibility is to ensure that they have a cost-effective plan. Okay. And there have been several class action lawsuits when they haven't, that are ongoing in the courts today, which I've spoken about on a previous episode.
Yeah. It's Ralph, first of all, people who regularly listen to this podcast know full well everything you just talked about. But I think that a lot of people maybe who stumbled across this podcast or might be listening to some of this information for the first time, I want to assure them of two things. One, you should go back and listen to some past episodes.
Yeah.
Because you have given brilliant examples in the past where it makes really crystal clear that choices do matter and there are choices that are available for them to make.
Yes.
But I also think that it's important that I underline this fact. You are very good at this. So if anybody's listening to this podcast and thinking, well, what could it hurt? I mean, what are we spending now? We're spending, $1.7 million on health insurance, and most of my people seem kind of happy, but maybe we should just take a review. Is that a good idea? But for them, just like let's give Ralph a call and let's review this to see maybe we could save some money here.
Absolutely. I do a lot of free 15-minute just consultations. Let me find out what you're doing. How much is it costing? How do you like it? The average, according to Kaiser Family Foundation and Milliman, et cetera, is $16,000 per employee per year. So if you've got 100 employees, that's 1.6 million. Now that none of my employer groups pay that much. On average, they are between $10,000 and $12,000 per employee per year, and some are actually below $6,500 per person per year. A lot. Okay. So if you're paying the national average, you're probably paying too much.
Too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you, Ralph, and start a conversation, if nothing else?
Yeah, absolutely. They can contact me by email, ralph@thebenefitwhisperer.com. They can visit our website. If you go to thebenefitwhisperer.com, you can subscribe and be the first one on future episodes, or you can go to fixmybenefitsnow.com, or even phone us, 832-924-3330. There are a lot of ways to reach us, and we love talking to people.
And to assure you who are listening or thinking, God, Ralph said that phone number really fast, it's in the show notes. Okay. All of this contact information, all the ways to reach out and get a hold of Ralph are in the show notes. So when you're done listening, when you're not driving your car or standing on a subway or, listening to this while you're busy occupied with other things, check those show notes out and do give Ralph a call.
Do you want a few more example or
sure,
are we running out of time?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, if we're running out of time, that's fine. But, I talked about the hernia repair, another service. Now, this is a good one. Service company on the West Coast. They had about 300 employees. They were paying, and this was several years ago, they're paying $2 million a year, reduced their cost to under $900,000.
Wow.
More than 50% cost reduction.
Wow.
Okay. A state health plan. I think I've talked about this before. They were paying $1.6 billion a year. Okay. And this is the one that, I've spoken about from time to time. CT scan, the average was 635.
Yep.
The high was 19,821. So that one, we analyzed the efficiency of their network, and their out-of-network providers were actually charging 6% less than their in-network providers. So I said, this is crazy. You're making the employees pay more to get something that costs less. So just limiting that network would save $96 million a year, and it was a simple change, a simple change, construction company right here in Houston, paying about $1 million. Their potential cost could be as low as 650 to 800 grand. So I could go on for days.
What about smaller companies, Ralph? Because there are a lot of small companies in this world, and I've got friends who, like I've mentioned him before, he owns an excavating company. Yep. He only has maybe a dozen employees.
Yeah.
Is somebody like that someone who should be maybe also able to take advantage of cost savings?
Yes, absolutely. And the small companies, with the Affordable Care Act, when that passed, it did some things which might be good for some people, but more expensive for most. Okay. Mm-hmm. They, prior to the ACA, state by state, they were able to underwrite the risk. Okay. So they could ask health questions, and they can say, well, you're an unhealthy group, so we're going to charge you 20% more. Now in California, they could go up or down 5%, in New York, 0%, in Texas, 67%, in Pennsylvania, 200%. So it varied state by state. Okay. Now with a fully insured plan with fewer than 50 people, everybody pays the same, whether they're, other than age and zip code and industry. Whether they are all 12 of them are sick or all 12 of them are healthy. So, it benefits those that are unhealthy, but those that are healthy don't win. But even sometimes those that are not in great health can save money. One company that had 25 people, we reduced their cost from about 300 grand to 210,000. We've got one company with 5 people that's on this kind of a plan. They're halfway through their plan year, and they've already cut their costs by about 1/3. So, and then of course, a lot of these companies at the end of the year, they get money back, So every year goes by, and the claims fund, okay, right, or claims funding that the employer puts money into every month, and the employees contribute a share as well. Okay. Every month that sits there, the big claims are covered by the stop loss insurance. The routine claims are covered out of this fund. Now, 100% of that fund belongs to the employer's benefit plan. Okay. And at the end of the year, that should be 100% refundable if you have the right plan.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Great. And I, before we get out of here, because we are running out of time, but I want to make a point here, because you have made it before, and I'll let you make it. When we're talking about saving money in medicine and Medicare and medicine and healthcare, you are not talking about reducing benefits for employees. You're talking about improving savings and keeping, or maybe even improving coverage, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We've had one example that we have used as a strategy with a few companies, and they love it. The average health plan has an annual deductible, okay, and of course an annual out-of-pocket limit. These days, it's $1,500 deductible is considered low. Okay. It's not at all uncommon, to see $3,500, annual deductible per person, like $3,500 if you're single, $7,000 if you've got a family. And some of them are even 5,000, 6,000, up to the maximum you're allowed to have as a deductible is $9,200. Okay.
Wow.
Now, not a lot of people go that far, but again, it's very common to have 3,500 to 5,000. Okay. Now, the annual deductible, if an employee through no fault of his or her own, it's not a chronic condition that isn't being managed. Sometimes it's a car wreck, it's a heart attack, it's a stroke, it happens suddenly. They have to come up with $5,000 or more. And that's hard. A lot of people can't do that.
That's a lot of money.
So one of the things that we've done is we've done a family monthly deductible. Okay. So instead of $5,000 a year, it's not divided by 12, but we break it down into bite-sized chunks. It might be $500 a month, $1,000, $1,500 a month. And it sure is a whole lot easier to come up with $500 than $1,500. So that is how we make the health plan better.
That's excellent. Yeah, and I just want to make sure you made that point before we ended this particular episode, because I think a lot of people equate cost savings with, sure, you're going to save money and you're going to cut my benefits and thank you very much. Right. And that's not what you were talking about.
Yeah. No, not at all.
So before we get out of here, I want to remind you that in addition to checking the show notes, there's one other thing that you can do that's really simple. If you are not a subscriber already, hit that follow button. That will make you a subscriber. And then when Ralph drops new episodes, you'll be alerted and you can give them a listen and see if you don't learn something new in that one as well. I do literally every podcast. The other thing I would ask is if you like this podcast, if it's useful, if it's helpful, tell people about it.
Absolutely.
Please, because word of mouth promotion is irreplaceable as a tool of promotion, especially today when you don't know who's recommending what to you on the internet. And half the time, I don't think there's anybody real behind them. So please, if you like it, share it and let people know. So until next time, I'm Bill Tucker. On behalf of Ralph and everybody at the Benefit Whisperer, thanks for taking the time to listen today, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Benefit Whisperer podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Looking to reach out? Visit our website at www.thebenefitwhisperer.com or give us a call at 832-924-3330. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the Benefit Whisperer. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be used as a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.